This is Boxing Tickets NI, and we're joined by Paddy McCrory. Paddy, how's things?
Very well. Can't complain.
Fantastic. So, Paddy, obviously you've a bit of a spring in your step at the moment, obviously knowing that your fight due in just under 5 weeks.
Yep.
So you're fighting in Wakefield against Mickey Ellison, who's 12-2.
Yep.
Do you know much about your opponent?
So from I've got about 2 or 3-0, I've always kept close down the rankings. So anybody that's been above me, I kind of know loads about. So yeah, like I was sent his name as a possible opponent. I knew who he was. I've seen a couple of clips of him, and it's definitely a fight that I was very interested in.
He's very similar to yourself. You're 10-0 with 4 knockouts. Mickey's 12-2 with 4 knockouts.
Yeah.
And you've both actually shared similar opponents in well-respected journeyman Lewis from Podge and obviously Harry Matthews.
Yeah.
So when you sort of look into the fights you both have with each other and how you...
Yeah, like, so I have nothing in them fights back, but I've kept on. I think I've seen the points and stuff, but apart from that, I haven't read too much into it. But yeah, we're actually about the same size. He may be a wee bit taller than me. I think our stages are a wee bit similar. So it's going to be a very interesting fight.
Definitely will be, and obviously if he's looking at your Harry Matthews fight, I can remember you being very disappointed in your Matthews fight.
Yeah, probably my worst, I don't know, on the night, I didn't feel it after the fight. I think I won the fight fairly handy anyway, but I was coming off the back of a big knockout win, and I was a bit sort of down with how I performed that night.
Always very critical of yourself as well. So I was going to remember that from Ulster Hall, was it a fight last year as well? You were very critical of yourself afterwards.
Yeah, that was against Padraig and McCrory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I've been getting into some of my fights. Well, a couple of my fights now, or very recently, knowing that there's a bigger fight coming after. Or potentially coming out there, so sometimes you're just like you're caught in a thing where you play it safe or you want to put on a big performance, and I think sometimes I've just been caught just playing it a bit too safe. Sorry.
Confidence always been a key thing. Obviously you just passed 3 years since your pro debut. Ryan Burnett's obviously first world title fight.
Yeah.
How have you sort of assessed your 3 years? You obviously had some cancelled fights at the start of your career.
So the very start, I achieved a goal of mine. Like my very first fight was the fight at the SSE or the old Odyssey Arena. So like that was massive for me. So to go on that straight away, it was brilliant. And then straight after that, I got 3 fights cancelled back to back, and I was definitely thinking then like this boxing isn't for me again, because I've been in and out of boxing, and these 3 years have been like the most I've ever been like committed to boxing. But definitely looking back then, I was definitely like doubting like whether I should be in boxing. But listen, I'm here now. I'm on the verge of the biggest fight of my career, and if I win this, there's a lot of opportunities out there for me.
I've seen an interview of Mickey Ellison this week, and he's saying that you'll be his toughest opponent to date. Okay. Would you class Mickey as being the same?
Looking at his record, yes. If you look at his record, he's coming off a big win against, I think it's Charlie Schofield, you might call him. He was 15-0. His last fight he came off a win against a guy called Concilia. He was 8-1. He was a very confident fighter. I think in that fight it was an eliminator for an English title, and Mickey knocked him out in the first round. So I think, like on paper, and looking at him, he's probably my biggest test to date. Obviously,
I think the big thing you have is your breakout fight, nearly as I say last year against Steve Collins at feile. You know, fighting in front of just over 10,000, and I think it's well sourced in the media now of your celebrations and that. So
yeah.
I think in one way you're probably more prepared for the fight.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was doing that fight super confident, and I got a big surprise. Steve came with a serious hunger, like to win that fight, and he was a lot better than I first thought. But I always thought that I was winning the fight, and then it's my first time fighting 8 rounds, and I showed that I can go the distance by getting a stoppage in the last round.
Shows you power there as well. Obviously, you know, people can have power earlier on and lose it.
Yeah.
So it's showing that even in the last round, you had the power to produce a big finish.
It's not something like that I've ever really worked on. I think coming to this fight will be the first fight that I've had real consistent strength conditioning. So I'm hoping that I develop a bit more power. But I think it's just a natural thing, and I'll carry it through till 8, 10, 12 rounds, just whatever it is. So
obviously you're touching on the strength conditioning. You've obviously left your long-term coach now, Ray Ginley.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you just under 3 years with Ray.
Yeah.
You know, there was no bad feeling, no ill feeling, just change of circumstances into that.
Yeah, like Ray has a small business and it's going really well, and he's very busy with that. He recently had a child, which is a freaking handful himself. Mark's the same. Mark has 2 kids, the exact same age as mine, 2 and I think 1 nearly. So like they're very busy people, and it ended up it was just me and Ray. So I sat back, I thought about it, and I looked at the dance table. There's loads of familiar faces there, and it's a great team environment, and I thought that I would definitely benefit a lot more from that.
Obviously the good thing is, I believe you're related to Dee as well.
So Dee's my wife's cousin, so like we're like kind of in-laws. But yeah, listen, me, Dee and Roy Dalton, like we grew up, like about 200 yards away from each other. Roy lives facing me that way, and Dee lives the next street down. So and we boxed together for we boxed in the same club at the very start. We left, the 3 of us left and went to St John's together. And then I fell away from boxing a bit. They moved on, done like very great things. We boxed Commonwealth Games. They won a couple of Irish titles, went 11 and was a pro as well. And then I came back into boxing. We just we're very close friends. So friends, coaches. So listen, I'm very happy now with the choice. Just like the way things have went the last few months. I feel like I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in, mentally and physically.
I guess obviously with the fight being early announced as well, it's giving you a lot more time to prepare for the fight. So, you know, obviously we hopefully see the best body McCrory.
Yeah. So just before lockdown, we were hoping to get out. Was it May maybe? May.
End of April.
In April, I was due to top my first bill actually in the hotel. So I've been taking over. Lockdown happened. The show was cancelled. Kind of went off the rails for about 4 weeks. Not off the rails, like just sitting in the house, friggin' like drinking a few beer, like here and there. Wasn't training, and then I heard Eddie Hearn coming out, and he said something like, "If fighters aren't staying ready, they go straight to the back of the queue." Which means like you get a phone call and you're fighting it in 2 weeks, and if you're not ready, then you go back to the queue. So I started training. I started taking over. I got talking to Jimmy Conlon. He says that they might have something for me. So then from then I think I've really been stepping it up, and I feel great.
Fantastic, and obviously keeping yourself in shape. I know obviously with you being a personal trainer, I know I don't really like to touch on lockdowns, everybody's been through it in the same way, but you've obviously had to do a lot of work from home as well as obviously having kids.
Yeah, so at the start, like all the gyms were closed, and I didn't really adapt. Like as I said, I kind of just went in the wee shell and just like I didn't do anything. I didn't train. Didn't do anything for work. And just sort of like lived. And then I started doing a lot of Zoom workouts, like online stuff. And I think it all came from starting by training myself. I got motivated to get my business back up and running. And from there, as I said, it spiraled. Things are great now. And yeah, now I'm here.
A point I guess I sort of want to touch on is over probably about the last, since the start of 2020, it seems to be now that newer fighters seem to be adopting the call you out. How are you adapting to that in terms of, you know, instead of you calling a fight right now, you're the first name on people's lips, particularly in Irish boxing?
Yeah, listen, I never take it personal. If you look at Irish boxing in terms of like super middleweights, there's much of us. And in terms of if they really want to make any money, they're going to want to fight me because there's no one else there. Like, if you, I don't want to say names, but other than all, they're all going to fight me because I'm probably #1 in Ireland and the BUI country champion. I have a big fan base, so they know if they come to fight me, it's going to be on my show because it makes no sense, and they're going to be looking paid. So if I was in their position, I would be calling me out, and I never take it personal unless it becomes personal. But other than that, like, boxing's a business, and that's it.
You're getting used to it now, then, so sort of as the cult names grow on and you keep knocking off these ones, being what is going to call you out.
Listen, I'm not a macho man. I just take it as it comes, and that's it. Like I would never really go, oh, who the fuck's that, like, or whatever. Sorry for my language. But yeah, I think it's just one of them things. It's business. People like are in, like, they make money. Others do, like, for different reasons. But as I say, if I was them, I would call me out as well.
I guess obviously, you know, the memories obviously I have of getting to know you pretty much around this time 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Was the cancelled Frampton Good Era's card.
Yeah.
Like I remember you at the final press conference fighting on Frampton's card, and you were bagging nerves because you were getting to meet Carter for the first time. So
no, I knew Carter. I knew Carter like from the amateurs, but like Carter moved on to be a freaking superstar, and he's always been like my favourite fighter. And I always remember I seen him in Gymco. He was with Shane McWigan, and I'd heard that he would be fighting here in Belfast, and he was good friends with a sponsor of mine who's Jim Conlon, and I said the card and said to Jim, please try and get me on that card, and I did, and I was on the card, and Good Areas went and fell in the shower. Terrible time, but yeah, at the press conference, I was down at it and I was on the show, and I felt invisible. Like, they were all Card and Cummings, and like whoever was there, like, and I seen a big queue, like getting photographs with Carl, and I was like, oh, I wonder, can I ask for a photograph? And I was like, I didn't know what to do, so then I just went for it, and I just remember him like turning to me and going, are you effing serious? And I was like, yeah, mate, snap. But
I think I actually took a picture of that day maybe as well, so
yeah, probably.
Yeah, sort of memory to have.
Yeah.
Is it sort of your only regret so far of being a pro that you haven't got to fight in Carter's card?
Listen, Carter's my favourite fighter of all time. He's brought big time boxing back to Belfast, and then the likes of Con Burnett, they just followed on. So hope it's still possible. Obviously, like with COVID, things have become a lot harder, especially for Irish fighters, I think, as well, because like logistically it doesn't really work to have a show in Ireland because you have to ship a full TV, like TV cameras, companies have to come here, and then there's all that sort of like cross contamination and all involved. But so I hope one day the car can fit in Belfast, and hopefully I can be part of it.
Well, who knows? Obviously, they can. His fight was announced yesterday. 3 weeks tomorrow actually.
Yeah.
And then obviously the chance of fighting Heron and the tail end of the year. So who knows? Obviously not looking ahead, but when Ellison fight and maybe get on the card in America.
Jesus, stop it! Like that's even it would be unreal to fight in America. Like for one thing, the fight on a Frampton card in America, would be beyond whatever I think, or beyond my dreams.
Yeah, well,
everything can happen in boxing. And I went to America to watch Stephen Donnelly in Madison Square Garden, and it was class. And again, when I signed pro, I thought that I would never box. Like at the SSE, I used to go as a fan. I would watch D Walsh at the SSE and be just being in awe. And then I fought her twice now, and it's unreal. It's scary.
I guess obviously something you probably haven't considered is going to be fighting for the first time as a pro away.
Yeah. Again, 10 fights in Belfast. I've been built up at home, and then when I heard of lockdown and no boxing, and then boxing home back behind the closed doors, I wasn't sure I was going to get a fight. So I'm very privileged, and it's very few Irish fighters get to go the fight in England as the home fighter. So it's an MTK show. I'm an MTK fighter. I'm the home fighter. So yeah, it's great.
Fantastic. So obviously looking back, feile last year. Obviously, if you would have been hoping to be fighting in the feile again this year.
Yeah.
I'm guessing obviously it's still you want to be higher say up the card. You were on BT the last time, but higher up the card again in 2021.
Yeah. So we were talking potentially fighting for a title, because obviously I would have boxed at the end of April. Hopefully got a big win as a main event, which then put me on to the next stage. And I think it would have been great to fight for a ranking European title or something along those lines, which would have moved me up the card, the feile. And I think if you look back at last year, a lot say that my fight was probably the most entertaining. I brought a massive crowd, and they're always loud, so I think it makes sense to move me up the card as well.
I guess your celebration showed it all, didn't they?
Yeah, it was great. That's a night that I'll never forget. Just looking about, and there's people so close and they're all familiar, and you know everybody, and they're all cheering you on, and there's drink going in the air, and I think I watched it back 3 or 4 days ago, because my son always goes, get potty on. So you see me boxing, and it's that's potty, but I was daddy. And so I stick it on, and it's still big tingles it. So it's something that'll always live with me.
I remember obviously after the fight and talking to you, and I think both myself and you thought you were down on the card getting into the last round. So, but the judges actually had you up.
No. Me and Ray was in the corner, and Ray, we spoke and said that you didn't have to win the last round. I personally thought it was up in the fight. Watching it back, listening to the commentators, they had me down, but on judges' scorecards, 2 had me up by 2 rounds, 1 had me down by 1, I think. So no matter what happened in the last round, I would still win the fight. But listen, if it had went to Steve, it was that close, you couldn't really argue. And then hearing back, you hear wee rumours and stuff, and apparently in sparring he'd been flying, he was so up for the fight, and he came and he showed it. But yes, I always felt like the early middle rounds it was probably getting away from me, and then from halfway through 4 right through, I came into it, became better. The first round they gave against me, which I thought I won, and then second and third round probably Steve, and then from that I just grew into the fight, and ended up I finished by I stopped reaching the 8th round. So I definitely knew that I had to win the last round, or I thought that I had to win. that I had to win the last round, and I went out with the idea of just like working the job, making a miss, which I done, and then picking it up in the second half of the round, because Steve was starting fast and finishing slow. So then I caught him a big right hand, he slumped and I stuck it on him, and that was it.
I think my memory of, I haven't fully watched the fight back again, but I remember shouting when you had him stunned.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, probably if you had a rushed in, you may not have stopped him, because obviously the blood would have flowed, and the next thing you'd have been slobbering your work, so you took your time and I did get it finished.
I think I could have went a wee bit better. I kind of like said, just through big shots where I could have like maybe touch, just whatever way. But listen, like it's all history now, and for me, looking back, it's very happy memories. So
I think Steve's now retired and he's moved up into the fire management for MTK. So
that's what we got to hold a grudge against me. Hopefully not. It's only business.
Obviously, something that I've known about that obviously hasn't been out in the public was before your fight on the Ulster Hall, you actually turned down Ultimate Boxer.
Yeah, I turned it on. Yeah, so actually about a week or two just before that, I sat down with Jamie and spoke about plans. So we had the plan to top the bill in April and look towards a big title at the feile. So like we had this plan, and then a week later, Jamie texted me, "What's your thoughts on the Ultimate Boxer?" And I said, "I think it's great. The competition's brilliant. Why?" And he says, "Well, the phone looking you a fight on." So a few back and forths and stuff, talking money, talking whatever it is. It's something that I definitely considered, and apparently they were looking me to be like the face of it and be like the main sort of like fighter on it. So I definitely thought about it, and then so it took me about 3 days. I weighed up, do I go into this competition with a 50-50 chance, and maybe like if I could beat moving towards like the feile, it takes away my chance of getting a big fight of the feile, which for me is the big goal. Or do I take a fight, one fight, main event, and then move on to the feile? And I definitely thought that plan was much better than taking a bigger risk at the Ultimate Boxer, because people say, listen, it's on TV, like BT Sport, but so was the feile, and I was on it last year. So, and I just turned 32 there, so I thought, do I risk maybe potentially my last feile for one night in a 50-50, like it's 3 rounds, 3 fights, it's like a roll of the dice, and I just thought that it didn't weigh up, and I chose the other route.
Yeah, I guess obviously, in your sort of defence where you can never turn down the opportunity of fighting at home in front of 10,000. I think the plan was actually to go more than 10,000.
Yeah. I kind of like seen the plans, and they were looking at 15,000 people, building higher, making a much bigger event. And there was talk of Mick getting a world title shot, which would have been massive for Belfast. And then talking me getting a potential ranking European title shot. Sean McCrory would have had a big step up. Listen, like it would have been electric, would have been bigger than last year. And for me, the risk of it, you would need to pay me serious though, and it wasn't. People say, "Oh, but you win 50 grand, but you don't win 50 grand." It's a 50 grand pot that gets spread out between like all the fighters, just depending on where you come. So you potentially win, the draw comes, like hard fight, and you beat your first fight, you get £3,000. Do I risk that for a title shot at the feile? No chance. But I thought about it for 3 days. I spoke to my wife about it, spoke to my dad, spoke to a couple of people that I trust about it. I texted you about it actually as well. And it just didn't weigh up.
And obviously it's a good thing sort of now that you didn't do it, because you would have lost out in this fight coming up.
Yeah.
Potentially you would obviously lost the field if it had been going on as well. So looking back, it's obviously not a decision you're going to regret.
Yeah, no, I could have been left in limbo. apparently still going to go ahead, who knows when. But yeah, so looking back, I think it's a very good season. If I look back, there was an Irish boxing, like, it was like 10 figures or whatever it was. It was like,
Last man standing.
Last man standing. I turned that down as well. I turned it down for different reasons, because there was change in management, and it paid off. It was the right choice. If you look back at that now, I think there was one person paid for it or whatever, I don't know. But looking back at it, it was definitely the right choice. I think I made the right choice again. People can say what they want. I think I'm sharp enough to like know what's right and wrong, or like weighing stuff up, what's going to be like a better option. You can say just fight, like your boxer does fight, but listen, it's a business for all of us, and we're all here to get as far as we can. Timing's everything. So yeah.
Definitely is. Obviously around the same time as you turned down the last man standing, you probably your highlight reel knockout. Have you texted Lennox Lewis to say he was coming to Wakefield in September?
But I was very disappointed in Lennox, because he didn't mention it. He just stole my video and stuck it up. Although it's still great. Like he's one of the greatest of all time. And he's like putting up a knockout and explaining, like breaking it down into like defensive movement and stuff. I texted him saying I'm fighting again soon. So no, I think that was great seeing that. Lennox Lewis, I set up the hours to watch like Lewis fight back in the 90s and stuff, like, and like, it was great. So yeah, very good.
Definitely, it makes obviously another good memory for you in years to come to say, well, yeah. Lennox Lewis actually like one of my knockouts.
And posted it. Yeah, very good.
So obviously not looking too far ahead from the Mickey Ellison fight. What's the sort of, I think looking at the rankings, probably the top 6 or 7 are away from British rankings. Would it be British title level you'd like to go for?
Probably for me, I would like to go international route. Just because, again, you go and win a WO, like European title, it gives you a world ranking straight away. And the British route, they can probably be a lot harder than that route. But if the chance came and there's a British titular, it's definitely something like I would think about fighting for. It's a massive thing. But for me, if it's not like it's whatever route. I trust in MTK. I trust in Jamie, who I deal with the most, and I think they'll pick the best route for me. So
definitely will. So at 32 years of age, I guess it's sort of getting to the stage where you're coming into, you have to make the right choices in your career moving forward now. So whatever route you go down, you have to trust that they're looking out for the best of you and them.
I done a podcast the other day, and I said so. Like you said to me, like you regret not doing it earlier, and I don't, because I don't think that I would have had like the same opportunities. If you look at boxing, like when I was 25, 7, 8 years ago, like there was very few shows. There was very like I think Padraig like went maybe fought twice in 2 years or something like that, just because there's somewhat or so little shows. So I think I've done it at the right time. I've got the right backing. I've got the right team, and I truly believe that I'm where I am because this is where I'm meant to be at the right time.
The stable's obviously very, very packed at the minute. Obviously, Lewis fighting for his first title, headlining 2 weeks before, before your show.
25th, yeah.
So obviously, the gym's buzzing at the minute. Can you imagine what it's going to be like after September? Yeah,
it'd be great. If Lewis comes back with a title and I get a big win, it's massive for Belfast as well. Like, and then even like for our just like a small group, it'll be great. It'll be some buzz.
Definitely is. Well, listen, Paddy, we'll not keep you too much longer. Thanks very much for your time, and obviously all the best for the rest of your camp.
My pleasure. Cheers.